So recently I've been releasing a lot of music in the form of 1-minute songs because they fit on Instagram and TikTok, and I've released quite a few of them and I really enjoy doing it. And I've had some questions as to how I can write that music so quickly, because the turnaround has to be fast, and I work on the songs just for the morning before they come out. I write them, record them, mix them, master them, and film myself doing all that and edit that together in the 3 hours leading up to me releasing it. So I need to be able to work really fast, and I've had quite a few questions about that. So I thought I'd put together this video and kind of explain how I work really, really fast, how I write music fast using the Novation circuit and Logic Pro X. So let's dive in. So this is the session for 1-minute song number 15, which came out today as I'm filming. Here's a little snippet so you get the gist of it.
There's nothing much to fear, my friend. So save your tears and go to bed.
And this is the session I recorded and mixed and all that stuff in. You can tell that Logic looks a little bit different over here, but it's the way I set it up. It's a template that I have with no grid, no snap, no quantize, and forces me to make decisions really quickly by itself because I can't edit. It limits my ability to edit things after the fact. And it also works like a tape machine. And for some reason, I'm going through that phase. I like tape machines. I like the idea of analog and stuff. I even color the tracks to look like tape. I mean, I know it's sad, but hey, I'm vibing with it. So anyway, this is the track. Let's start off with the drums. And I record the drums on the Novation circuit. And these are not bounced or consolidated. That's just how I record them. I record them in as one track, mono, already mixed together. I tend to work with a drum loop on the circuit until I'm inspired and writing. And by that point, if I was inspired and kind of feeling it, in my eyes, it's already mixed. It's already ready to go. So I'll just record that into Logic right away. I tend to kind of get the drum loop going on the circuit, grab my guitar, write the chords, write the melody, write the lyrics, and then I can start kind of recording things in. So because the circuit's a drum machine, it's always going to sound really flat. It's not going to have much life to it. So to give it some life and give it some fills and record that performance, I will just kind of tweak it as I record the part in. Like if we come back into Logic here, you can hear I've got these moments. In that case, it's just me playing with kind of the effects send. But these are little ways of creating a bit of variation. So if I go to the effects here, I've got my delay already set up. Then if I play the loop, I'm just sending the different parts of the drum kit to the effects and stuff. That's one way of doing it. I can mess with the filters while everything's playing. I can mute things as it's going. Kind of create variation that way. But the point is, whatever I do, I have to record it into Logic as audio as it's going. A lot of people would be tempted to do things with a sampler or do things using MIDI. And why I don't do that is because I'm always tempted to change it. And the easier something is to change, the more likely you are to change it. So I try to make it almost harder for myself to make changes after recording something in, because that way it retains the real performance and it gets me to just move on with the song. I'm not going to get caught up in what the kick drum sounds like or where I should pan the hi-hat because I can't pan the hi-hat. It's there, it's glued in. I can pan it in here, but if I didn't do that beforehand, it's baked in. And I kind of like the sound of drums recorded together anyway, because it doesn't make sense to me in a mix if the kick drum is right here in my chest, but the snare drum is 3 miles away down a tunnel, and the hi-hat's in my right ear. That doesn't make any sense to me. When you look at a drum kit and watch somebody play a drum kit, they're in front of you on a drum kit. I want to retain that feeling. So that's how I go about recording my drums in. The synths is very similar story with the synthesizer, which also comes from the Novation circuit, which I'll show you now. The trick here is to use the sequencer pads as kind of chord triggers, right? So I'll take a pad here, for example, I can assign these 4 notes to it, and it'll always play those 4 notes. This is great because I'm not a keyboard player, and this is also a confusing setup to me. So that means that I can assign a chord to a button and adjust, and I can play those with one hand and adjust other parameters with the other hand. So it's conducive to a good performance, in my opinion. And this is how the synth sounds when they're recorded in. And you can hear me opening and closing the filter as I'm playing, which is part and parcel of my kind of setup. Okay, obviously bass, electric guitars being recorded in, that's pretty straightforward. But I grab my bass on one of the guitars and record that in the way you would any other instrument. I play the bass with a pick because I'm a guitarist. Very basic stuff. Electric guitars, pretty basic as well. Towards the end, I've got this cool hook. Again, it's all just improvising until I come across something that I like, and I record it as soon as I think of it, because I'll either forget it, or if I don't forget it, I'll feel tempted to change it because it needs to be this, or it needs to be more that, So you might as well just record it in, forget about it, follow the song, let the song write itself, don't get in its way, trying to make it sound like this, make it sound like this. So I just do that. Acoustic guitar is part of the template. Oh, I might also note, if you look at the mixer section here, barely any plugins. The reason for that is I tend to have the sound I want going in. So on the guitars, for example, you can hear the delays and stuff. That's coming out of my Helix. So my Helix I've got a Helix down here, and it's just wired up into my interface. Because this is part of like the working fast, is I get my drum loop going. I love that. I pick up my guitar, I get the sound that I want. Oh, that's cool, that's inspiring. Boom, I start writing the chords, love the chords, and I start improvising words over the top, and Logic has this little notepad, and I just write the lyrics in here, which is pretty handy as I come up with them, and then move on. It's all about keeping up the pace. Don't lose that momentum. As you can see here, the vocals have some plugins on there, but a pitch correction because I'm really self-conscious. The gate to get rid of the background noise, a high pass stage just to get rid of some useless frequencies down there, and a de-esser. And that goes to... I've got this cool trick where instead of recording my voice 2 more times and panning it because I'm lazy, if I want to get that effect of 3 vocals, I just use this... I just use a sample delay the left and right by a few samples, and mix that in, blend it in using the send here. And it sounds really cool, and this is how it sounds alone.
There's nothing much to fear, my friend. So save your tears and go to bed.
So that's cool. I like that sort of dreamy, distant, vocal that sounds like it's coming from the end of a tunnel. I don't know why. And yeah, that's that. And you could probably look at that and say there is no compression in this whole project, and you'd be kind of right. So what I used to do is if I throw a compressor on a track, I will change it. Full stop. I will always go back and tweak it, which did a couple of things. It slowed me down, for one, because I was making all these weird changes, and it also made me, and it also meant I'd make worse decisions when I was adding compression, because I always knew I could change it later. So what I started doing is creating a send so that when I wanted to compress things, I would have to send the track to that compressor, get the compression right, and then print it straight away, bounce it right away. I don't do that anymore. I bought an actual compressor. So I have a stereo compressor over here, and I do much the same thing, but I send it out to the real thing. And I get the sound that I want in there. While I've got it sounding good, I record it in, and that's what the stems folder is all about. So these stems, this is anything that was up here, processed through my compressor and recorded right back into Logic. So I'm not going to sound that different for a lot of these, except compressed, except for the guitars, for example. I bust them together. Hold on, we're muted. So that's really cool. I like the sound of it. Now, the way I bust things together into stem is not really uniform. Sometimes I'll do the drums, then the vocals, and then, for example, synth, in this case, synth, bass, and guitars, I might do them all together because I just want to get it done quickly, or I like the way they sound glued together when they're all compressed at the same time. It just depends on the day, really, but I will process these all separately. As you can see here, I do have some compressors in the session, but these are just for side chaining, so they're side chained to the drums print to get a bit of ducking on the kicks and the snares there. Then when I'm done with that, I'll take all of those and send them out together to my stereo compressor again and record that down here in what I call my mix print, which would sound like this without the mastering stuff on it.
Oh, now
That gets the exciting bit. Yeah, and now I have a stereo file to master. And I just do that really quickly with... So I don't have a compressor in here either because they have already been compressed through the hardware compressor with some very gentle touch, but enough. So when it comes to the plugins that I use, I have the standard clip
prisoner in your head.
which is just only just taken off. You can see the red there. The tiniest amount of the most extreme transients. That's just so the limiter doesn't have to deal with it later on. Another secret weapon here is the Greg Wells MixCentric. Now, I'm not huge on plugins, and I'm not big on third-party plugins. Like, if I'm going to do something, I tend to like to manipulate the stock ones. You know, the computer runs faster with them, and I think they're only ever doing the same combination of compression and EQing and saturation and whatnot. There's not really much more that you can do other than automating and stuff, but that's manual. But this adds just enough of that secret sauce to convince me to go, okay, I'll put it on.
Because I'm lazy.
So if we listen to it with and without, so this is without it. Yes, I must add, before you tell me, oh, that's just so much louder, no wonder it sounds better. Well, yeah, because I've cranked the volume. So I add about 5 decibels here because I record pretty low. So I always end up, my mix at the end, once it's compressed together and stuff, I always end up with like 16 decibels of headroom. So part of the gain stage to get that louder is here, on the output stage here. And then the limiter is making up the rest of that. And when it's all said... That's what it looks like. So yeah, this is how I write music fast using the Novation circuit and Logic. Just to mention it, this is good enough to be released on like social media as something, hey, look what I did this morning. I'd probably want to spend more time on it if I'm putting something up on Spotify or for a proper release, but in terms of songwriting and writing effectively and writing quickly and making decisions that serve the song and don't serve a checklist of things that need to be fulfilled, you know, this is the way I would go about it in any situation. So I hope that's helped. If you did like the video, like it, comment, subscribe. If you've got any ideas for videos or anything that you've seen in this that you want explained maybe in more depth, please just say so in the comments below and I will make a video about that. I'm looking to put a lot more content up on YouTube now. So yeah, thanks and we'll see you in the next video.